Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I'm George.
I'm Stav.
Today we're going to be working on the R30, assembling the head, installing the head gasket, the copper unit, and going over the details on that. We're also going to be going over cleaning some of the parts before we get the head fully assembled here with this ultrasonic cleaner that Stav picked up. So the hardware, the cam gears, the rollers, all this nasty grime. We're going to be going over it in this episode. And then at the end, mating this head to the R30 block, and then talking about some of the details that we're still waiting on before we start getting ready to throw it inside this beautiful engine bay now with these angel hair spaghetti, no longer thick spaghetti that Stav spent the last episode working on. See, yeah, we'll get into detail of that throughout the episode. Anyway, guys, welcome back. Let's kick this off and let's get this head assembled. I think the first round up, we're gonna get all the rollers on here. We'll just put them on here. Yeah. Or should we put this rack in there and just toss them in?
Nah, we'll
just put them in?
We'll put that in and then we'll toss them in a second. What's the name? But let's show everyone what we got here. We got the top of the line. I mean, our
Harbor Freight,
$90 ultrasonic cleaner, and you know it's now warmed up, preheated. Show them what we did on the first time. But
look at that steam! Look at that steam from that purple wash. Smell that.
Yeah, that what's the name? But basically, we did a test run on this where the cams go for the VVTi, and this is where the solenoids stick through.
I don't have a before and after, so we're gonna get a before and after on the hardware, on the gunkiness of the rollers, so you guys be able to see what the difference is when they come out of the ultrasonic bath.
Yeah, they weren't pre-cleaned or anything like that, but this one came out amazing compared to what it was before, and just 15-20 minutes of it running inside there with the heat on. So
let's get these rollers out, Stav. We're gonna put them inside this rack, and then we'll get it inside this ultrasonic bath cleaner. So let's get this rack inside the ultrasonic bath, Stav.
All right,
it's steaming.
Get my hands. I'm Vanna White right now. All you see is my hands. Oh, probably not gonna work out really well.
It's nice. It's hot, huh? All right, so we're gonna put the cover on, and then just set this up. Highest setting.
All right.
And it sounds like Stav's.
Hold on. Did I say it before you can make it?
A little bit of valve tap.
Oh, here's what it is.
All right, but we're gonna let this run for a few minutes. See how it looks on the first cycle, and then if it still looks like it needs more, we'll run it for a couple more cycles. But if it looks anything close to what this came out to, which looks super clean, which had a lot of oil and nastiness and grime, I'm expecting to be super happy and satisfied with it looking anything close to this, especially on the after. So you guys saw the before. Let's look at the after of the actual rollers. All right, Stav. Let's see what these bad boys look like.
They look. I mean, they still got a little bit of like what do you call? I don't know.
Sides are cleaner.
Yeah, sides are cleaner. Everything looks pretty clean. I mean, nothing's really rubbing off on my hands.
Maybe we should let it run one more time?
You think so?
I don't know. You think it's going to make a difference?
Nah, I don't think so. I think it came out pretty nice. Everything looks pretty clean. Obviously, this is just some aging stuff and, 20-year-old part. But other than that, like, that's something maybe like a blaster would do, but you wouldn't blast a part that has a roller and bearing.
How does everything else look, though? Everything else is...
Pretty nice, pretty nice. I mean, look how dirty the oil is. Look how dirty, the water is here. Look, yeah. You can see it, like, look how it came out.
All right, let's take those bad boys out and let's see how they look like. All right, so we pre-lubed these up, and I have the circlips that are gonna hold the actual lifters. So these are the circlips. And then the lifters, as you can see, have been soaking for the last couple days. And this, apparently it's a good thing since these are hydraulic lifters, especially with any hydraulic components, to let it soak in some oil for a little bit. So I'm going to be taking them out individually and then putting the circlip and installing it on the rollers for the 3.2 VR, or now R30, so to speak. So I'm going to take this, get one clip out, get one lifter, bring that out there. So essentially this clip is going to go over, which side does it go on again? That's the hat. It's going to go on this side, so it's going to go right here on the back side of the clip. Where's it at? Boom, there it is, there it is. It's going to go on the back side of here, and then it's going to clip on the front right there like that. Yeah, like that. But we're going to have to put through the lifter on the clip first. So push this through, angle it, clip it in, get that back clip in, and then it snaps in. And that's how the lifter and the roller basically assemble, and they essentially drop in, from what I can tell. Never done this before, so this is the first time that we're doing anything in the head like this, but it seems fairly simple. Hopefully it is, and then you just drop right in. So I'm going to be setting them up. So I'm going to do quite a few of these, and then we'll get them ready to drop in, and then we'll start looking at the cam specs on what's required, the torque for the caps and whatnot, and then we'll go from there on. Again, I'm also kind of petrified doing this stuff, is I've never done it before. So understanding where the clips go, how they're supposed to be installed, again, you know, we did a lot of research as far as, you know, what we could do, and looking up and research and looking at our other engines that are here that were assembled by, well, the heads that were assembled by, you know, professional machine shops. But figured we can start maybe getting into doing our own head stuff, maybe even porting, polishing, getting into this kind of stuff, and learning more. That's the whole point of this whole process, right? The VR6 swap is in the RS3 is basically a journey for us to learn more, become better, you know, and do more, as opposed to relying on shops. You know, there's a lot of great shops out there, just not a lot of them, you know, care about, you know, customers' timelines and whatnot. So we wanna just break away and start doing our own stuff and learn as much as we can and be able to do that stuff for our own, just like anybody else would. You know, if you could do it yourself and save not only money but time and heartache and having to deal with shops that give you excuses, then, you know, this is the reason why we pick up a lot of this stuff. And we're going to learn, break stuff. We're going to miss stuff here that we're going to have to trace back to, but that's part of the game, right? That's the whole point of this, is to start doing stuff on your own, learn. But there's going to be mistakes made. There's going to be some learning curves. So I try to do things as best as we can, but to the best of our ability. I'll show you guys a couple more, and then we'll move on. All right, so I'm going to get the rest of these done, and then we'll move on to getting them inside the head, and then we'll talk about the cams here in just a second. All right, I'm going to lube the rest of the back side. Boom.
Mm-hmm. Why are you lubing it up there, George?
Why?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm just
making sure that the pocket where the lifter goes into has oil.
Yeah, yeah. Just making sure we have a little bit of assembly lube in there, and then I'll pre-lube all the little galleys for the actual cams too when we get there. But like I said, when we started this, when we showed you guys how we dropped these in, we're just going to take the rest of these that I already assembled, that I showed you guys got the rest of them in, and then we're just going to go in and just drop each one in. Going through the corner here. Boom. Make sure it's sitting on that hat. And then just start setting this up. So while I get the rest of this done, I'll show you guys here in just a minute when I get all them in. We'll start looking at the cams and the requirements of what we need to do in order to set the cams in place and then torque them. All right, so rollers, lifters are in, pretty much sitting, pre-lubed. Might have been a little bit overzealous with all the pre-engine assembly lube, but lubed all the cam races where the cams are going to sit, pretty much the bottom sides, and then we'll do the same thing for the top sides of the caps before installing the actual cams. But this is how it looks, and it's starting to look really good too. So this is getting towards the, you know, second or third base where we're getting ready to just finish the assembly on the head and then slap it on the motor, and then we're going to get into what we have to do, or what we're doing, so to speak, what we're doing, and take what we're doing with a grain of salt to install that custom copper head gasket, and kind of the techniques that we picked up from a few friends of giving us some tips over in Australia land. And we'll get into details of who that was and what we're doing. But yeah, that's starting to look really good. And then let's start getting ready to get the cams ready. We'll drop the cams here in a second and get this head ready to install. Got the caps on. Exhaust side has just been run down by hand. As you can see, it probably needs a lot more. We haven't even done to snug it down yet. This is just run on by hand. Intake side. We installed the caps per the actual Bentley manual. Started out with caps 5 and 9, just tightening them down, snugging them down first, and then just moving outward. The other one's going to be 1 and 13, which is going to be the outer edges of the cap, so the last and then the front, and then it's going to be 3 and 11 for the insides.
Also, before you miss a step, you got to go to number 7 and then 3 to 11.
Oh, 7, that's right. Yeah, 7's in the middle and then 3 to 11. And I don't want to screenshot Volkswagen's guide. I have a feeling like they would copyright strike, something like that.
Probably,
I don't want to put a
screenshot
screenshot of that.
And something like this is very important to go by the sequence, because if you start like loosening the tension here, and there's
you
still
can break
tension
this thing in half, right?
Break the cam in half, right?
All right, so we snugged this down pretty good, and now we're going to go with the torque sequence. Torque sequence is going to be the same thing, 5 and 9, and then it's going to be moving out to 1 and 13, and then it's 7, and then 3 and 11. And the torque's going to be what, Stav?
44 inch-pounds, remember, not foot-pounds, plus an 1/8 inch turn.
44 inch-pounds?
Yes, plus an 1/8 inch turn.
Plus an 1/8 inch turn.
Make sure it's not foot-pounds, because you will strip and break these studs.
Okay, all right, let's do that now, and then we'll move over to the exhaust side. So we popped off the studs. This is where we can clean the surface one last time, a little bit of acetone and a dry rag. Gonna go over it. Looks like I probably have to do a better job now that I'm talking about it. But clean it to the best of your ability. Again, clean rag, a little bit of acetone, get all that gunk and nastiness off. Anything that would interfere with a good sealing surface. And then the same thing for the top of the heads. Now, we are running a copper head gasket. Stav's been in kind of communication with a couple of the guys over in Australia, over at eTuners. So Trent, thanks a lot. kind of hooking us up with your machine builder out there that does all the big Barra stuff. But what they do with this 3-bond is go over all the coolant ports and oil ports, essentially in the motor and the head, and they lightly put it on, very lightly. And what this causes now when the gasket goes on there is that this seal squishes down to basically nothing, to zero. But it adds a nice, beautiful sealing surface. This way that oil or coolant doesn't penetrate the actual gasket, which coppers have a huge problem or a reputation with actually leaking.
Yeah, copper has a, what do you call it? MLS can take boost, but copper takes it way better. The problem is it cannot do well with coolant or oil, any type of liquid.
Oh, now that you mentioned that too, let's go over why we went with copper. So this is a machine groove head. This is not an O-ring. The O-ring is a stainless steel wire that's placed in a groove on the block. The reason why there's a receiver groove in the head is to smash that copper gasket into this groove, giving us a better sealing cylinder, making sure all the boost stays where it's supposed to, all the combustion is staying where it's supposed to. So this is an O-ring surface. There's 1,000 different ways you can do it. A lot of the JDM guys, you can even YouTube O-ringing an engine. There'll be a video from DS Sport where they're doing stainless and they're running MLS without the receiver groove. That's completely fine. A lot of big power JDM and muscle car guys do it. We're going to be doing a receiver groove, but the downside to that is running the copper. We're going to have to use this 3-bond to go over. So it's going to be a little bit tedious. Me and Stav's going to take the motor, going over all the coolant ports very lightly, doing a little bit of seal. I'm going to take the head, and then we're going to lay down the gasket on there, and then install the head, and then tighten down the ARP half-inch studs. So let's just get this off. In fact, we're going to put the studs on first, and then we'll start throwing that seal on there. All right, let's get this seal. Let's get this show on the road. Never used this stuff before. Never used a copper gasket on my stuff either. Oh, it's white. Interesting. Okay. All right, Stav, what do you think? You think we should put a bead on the inside and on the outside as well? I'm thinking so. Maybe on the inside of the bead on this metal?
Well, yeah, I would think don't go on the outside, go on the inside, because that's where the coolant port is.
What?
No, it's interesting seeing how it's done. We haven't.
I've never done this before, so don't. Anybody watching, don't use me as an example right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is our. I mean, when we had the copper head gasket in my setup, we never used seal and we had it leaking. So I think this is our best try. You know.
Is that enough? Do you think?
That's more than enough.
What about on the inside here? I'll just do a little bit more.
I don't think you're supposed to go that far, Rich.
I don't think so either, but
Yeah.
I just wanted to get this and the outside.
But again, we always put a little extra silicone. Why? Because more silicone is better.
And oil, apparently, behind all the bearings.
Yeah.
But yeah, so again, you know, excuse the crudeness of the video. We've never done this before. It was kind of explained to us very loosely how this is done and why it's done. So,
and I think there's really no set standard on how it's perfectly done, because everybody tends to do their own thing and doesn't talk about it. Because I think what people are scared about is the ridicule online. Like somebody else, one person will come out and say that this person does it wrong, the next person does it correct. So we're just doing our own way.
Hey, ridicule us.
Yeah, ridicule us. I mean,
go for it. Give it your best shot.
Yeah, more negative, negative comments towards George. I mean, I greatly appreciate it. Just gonna put a nice little bead. And remember, we got to put it on both surfaces because of the head gasket. So very interested in seeing how it comes out, and obviously don't follow us until you see this motor running without issues and whatever, because this is all going to be testing. We are not experts. We just play ones on YouTube.
Yeah. What about these little ports here, stuff? I think might as well just do it on all of them then.
I think I need to get like a little Q-tip or razor to clean off all the excess, like on what you have in your like the combustion port.
You want to get one real quick? Yeah.
This one.
And I'm going to leave this whole thing up this way you guys can see me put it on and then see what we're going to be removing. Obviously, in the combustion chamber, I don't want the seal to be there. But I'm being as liberal as I can around the sealing surfaces to the best of my ability. And the seal, from what we were explaining, what it is smashed down, it'll really compress down to zero, as opposed to some other seals that don't compress down, that become a sealing issue. So there's like two versions of this. There's like a black seal and then this white seal. Apparently this white one compresses nicely for gasket use. I don't think the RS3 is going to be a daily driver for much longer anyway. We're going to be doing a lot of drag racing for it, so who knows? Maybe I'll switch back to MLS if we have any issues with this copper gasket. You know, switch to a different head without a receiver groove and call it a day. I'm not sure, but that's the best part about this stuff, guys, is just experimenting and kind of seeing what works, and that's half the fun, right? Learning. And, you know, the people that, the shops that you guys go to, or we used to go to, they did the same thing. They experimented. You know, they learned. They see what works. Sometimes they had failures. Sometimes they had issues. You know, sometimes they have a ton of issues. That's just the way it is, really. We'll show now the sealant that I'm adding to the block, and then have Stav come behind my application and remove. Alright, so there's all that sealant that's applied to all the coolant and oil ports on the head as well. Wipe clean all the surfaces that don't require any sealant. And now we're going to install the studs and then get this motor mated along with that copper gasket. Let's get it on there. The head is on. We snug down the head studs, and now we're going to get ready to do a torque. And we're a bit of a time crunch because we have
35 minutes of tack time.
Tack time. So we want to make sure that we get that squish on all that sealant on that copper gasket prior to its setting. So we got it snugged down. We're going to start our torque per the manual, middle way out, pushing out. And for the half-inch studs, Bob, do you remember the torque, what we're doing?
The final torque will be 110, but we're going to do 25, 65, and then the third one will be the 110.
Okay, so 110 foot-pounds on these half-inch head studs.
Compared to 90 foot-pounds, which is the standard...
ARP.
You know, yeah, the standard.
And that would be what, the 11M?
No, those would be 10 millimeter, because that would be for an R32.
Oh, that's right, you're right.
Yeah, so you went to 12. You went to half-inch, which is 12.6 millimeters, so quite a big difference.
Look how huge these things look inside these guys,
You
like
probably
telephone
won't need
poles.
it because 24 valves don't make the kind of power that 12 valves do, but it is nice to have the extra assurance. I agree with you.
Fuck out of my garage. All right, let's torque this thing down. And again, we're doing to how many foot-pounds?
25 foot-pounds.
That's right. 25.
12, 13.
All right. Hold on. Crack.
14.
Yep.
15. All right, 16. 17.
Here in the corner?
Yep.
Okay.
And, 19 and 20. The last one in the corner.
And this is at 25 foot-pounds?
Correct. So this is just an initial, get it all
For
set.
the back one here?
Yeah, correct. Alright.
Alright, so that is torque. We're good to go, right? 25 foot-pounds on the head studs?
That's more enough for this motor, but...
Ooh.
What's the name?
Talking that shit.
Next one will be 65.
Alright, so we're not going to show us just kind of torquing bolts. You guys have all done that before. But wanted to just give you a layout. We are using a... What's this?
Snap-on?
Snap-on?
No, it's gear wrench.
Gear wrench. I was about to say, it's like Snap-on. Where'd we get the funding for that? Alright, so gear wrench, torque wrench. We're going to be torquing these. Right now we're going up to 65.
Correct.
And then we're going to be going to 110 foot-pounds on the head studs. See you here in a couple minutes. Right, the R30 head is now mated. Copper gasket. Crushed. A little bit of sealant from that white stuff that we were using, the 3-bond. Where's it at? Boom. Squeezing out, we have to wipe it clean, but the motor and the head are not mated. I'm going to pop off the front timing cover, get it cleaned up and painted. Waiting for the new tool steel crank bolt to come in for the fluid dampener pulley. Now we're waiting for all the factory stuff, so timing stuff from Euro Tuning.
New rear main seal.
100. New front and rear main seal, yeah, 100%.
You don't want any leaking oil? Okay, so, I mean, you have everything done. The long block is done. I mean, you know, we have it basically in top dead center, but of course we'll properly time it, but it's, you know, set 90% there, and I mean, it's as good as it'll ever get, George, honestly.
Look how pretty that looks, Stav. Look at that sexy ass fucking silver fucking lump.
Yeah.
Junkyard engine. Well, both of them are junkyard engine. The one currently in the car, the stock 3.2 liter, and right now this one.
That's a junkyard engine. This is a junk engine. See how that goes? That's what it is.
But we are waiting again. I wanted to talk about the cams a little bit, the rear seals. Ended up completely forgetting about that, so place that last minute on Euro Tuning to hopefully deliver by next week. So we'll be able to install the backside, the timing gears, and then the timing components will come in, and then we'll actually time this motor and get it done. But the head is on there, the rollers are on there. Giant, look how huge those things are. Huge half-inch studs, the telephone poles are on there. Again, giving us the best chance where the combustion chamber is going to stay as sealed as possible. And we're going to talk about this in the future too. With a copper head gasket, a trick of the trade is to not run coolant through the engine and actually just start it and let it run for about 30 or 40 seconds, about a minute, let it get hot.
Yeah, we'll talk about that when we do the first start.
And then we'll be retorquing the head, of course, because the copper will then again get a little bit more malleable and we'll be able to crush it that much more and get that clearancing as down as possible to make sure it's perfect. But I'm really happy. I'm glad the R30 is coming together. It's beautiful. Stav's wiring, as we talked about in the last, well, Stav pretty much talked about in the last episode, is done. On the next episode after this, you guys are going to see him remove this harness, hopefully by this weekend, and then pull it, wrap it in Raycam, so this way it's all nice and clean, and then this way it's kind of hidden. And then I'll start pulling this week the stock engine, get it on my rolling custom engine stand that I made with my MIG welder, and then we'll start looking at the transmission, what we have to order. In fact, Stav ended up putting together a to-do list somewhere. Oh, is it? Boom.
This is just part one of your to-do list because you have a lot of things to do.
I got it. It's not just to do, it's to order. So tonight and tomorrow I'm going to order pretty much everything on this list that we're going to need to get going. Stop, angle a little bit so the glare's not on it. There you go, perfect. So this is my to-order list, and then we'll get on my to-do list. There's going to be a lot of things on the inside of the engine bay within the next 10 days that I want to kind of clean up and modify. I want to clear out the firewall a little bit more to give us a little bit more kind of comfort when we're launching this car, make sure that turbo housing doesn't bounce against the wall. But we're going to get into that as we are yanking the engine, prepping the bay for the built R30 engine that we assembled here. So really excited, guys. I'm glad you guys stuck around. Again, any tips of the trade, anything you guys want to add, put it in the comments below. We appreciate the support. We appreciate the comments and the feedback on the last video. Stav has been busting his hump on the wiring, and now it's my turn to take over as far as now. We got the motor ready, pretty much, minus the timing and the few gasket kits. But now start getting the car ready by yanking the stock 3.2 liter. So I'm going to do that on camera, probably on the next Monday episode, get the engine out, showcase some of the things that we learned, lessons learned, just doing some of the basic stuff, engine swapping, a nearly brand new car, Audi RS3, for those of you guys that are interested in doing something as crazy and dumb as we are. But guys, I think I'm going to end this video on this note. R30 is about 90% there. Now the head is mated, torqued, and now we're just waiting for the little bits and pieces, the details to come in, so we can start getting it ready to mate to the RS3 transmission and in the car, so we can start making some power, going fast, having some fun. And what were we saying? Breaking parts and breaking hearts. So we'll be doing a little bit of both, hopefully, and kind of figuring our stuff out and developing this car so we can continue to have fun with it and compete with it and kind of see, what else can we learn? What can we do differently?
12-valve swapping.
Definitely not. So guys, without further ado, thank you guys so much for the video. Appreciate all the support. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care.
Later, Malakas.